The truth is, some battles aren't fought on foreign soil. They're fought every single day, just to make it to tomorrow. We all carry scars, but it takes a special kind of strength to see someone else's wound and choose to heal it instead of walking past. This is the story of General Amelia Vance, a woman who commanded thousands, yet found her greatest mission not in a briefing room, but under the flickering lights of a cheap diner. It's about a sacrifice you would never expect, the kind that proves that true power lies not in rank, but in the pure, relentless heart of a parent. You won't believe the choice she made. The air in the steakhouse was thick with the scent of prime rib and the quiet hum of privilege. General Amelia Vance, in her crisply pressed dress uniform, sat across from her 22-year-old son, Michael. This was their tradition: dinner on her rare weekend leave, a sliver of normalcy in a life defined by deployment maps and command decisions. Michael, just out of college and navigating his first real job, was laughing, his voice a warm, familiar sound she hadn't realized how much she missed. They talked about his future, her next assignment, the usual delicate dance between a mother who commanded a division and a son who just wanted his mom back safe. But then, as Michael leaned in to tell a story, Amelia's gaze drifted past his shoulder toward the far corner of the dining room, and her smile faltered. Stay with me, because what she saw shifted the entire world on its axis. Standing near the swinging kitchen door was a man, mid-30s maybe, wearing the pale blue uniform of a janitor, meticulously sweeping up a spilled glass of water. His face wasn't one of resentment or fatigue, but something far deeper, a quiet, absolute desolation. His shoulders slumped, not from physical strain, but from a crushing weight you could practically feel across the room. She noticed the slight tremble in his hands as he held the dustpan, the way he kept glancing down at a small, cheap photograph tucked into the breast pocket of his shirt. It was a picture of a little girl, no older than 5, with bright, gap-toothed smile. Amelia, whose life was built on reading situations and assessing threats, saw no threat here, only a raw, exposed vulnerability that mirrored a ghost from her own past. She couldn't shake the image of his eyes. They held the weariness of 1,000 sleepless nights. What was his story? Michael, oblivious, continued his anecdote. So, I told my boss, "Sir, with all due respect." Amelia barely heard him. The janitor, finishing his cleanup, moved to the edge of the dining room, near a service exit, and took a quick, ragged breath. He pulled out a crumpled tissue and rubbed his tired eyes before checking his watch. It was nearing 8 p.m. In that small, private gesture, Amelia didn't see a janitor. She saw a man running on fumes, a father counting the minutes until he could get back to his child, or maybe, just maybe, worrying about how he was going to feed her tomorrow. The general, who once ordered tank movements, felt an unexpected, fierce wrench in her gut. She remembered the early years with Michael, before the promotions and the secure salary, when she was a young captain, a single mother doing 2 jobs just to keep the lights on and buy a cheap pair of shoes that fit. She knew that desolate corner, where despair meets determination. Don't go anywhere. The moment of truth is approaching. Amelia gently placed her hand on Michael's arm, cutting him off mid-sentence. "Michael, I need you to stay here. Just a moment." Her voice was low and firm, the voice of command, but her eyes held a strange, determined softness. She rose from the table, her medals and ribbons catching the restaurant light, a beacon of authority and success. Every head in the room turned to watch the general cross the polished floor. She walked past the host stand, past the wealthy couples and the loud corporate dinner, straight toward the hungry janitor, who instinctively stepped back, likely afraid he had done something wrong. The contrast between the two was almost painful. Her perfectly tailored uniform, his frayed cuffs. Her certain stride, his hesitant shuffle. What she said next was not a command, but a confession. "Excuse me," she said, her voice dropping to a conversational murmur so only he could hear. "My name is Amelia. I couldn't help but notice. You looked like you've been running for a very long time." The janitor, caught off guard, stumbled over his words. "Ma'am, General, I'm sorry, I was just finishing up." He quickly tried to smooth his hair. Amelia just nodded, her gaze fixed on the small photograph in his pocket. The little girl, she's beautiful. He managed a weary smile. That's Lily, she's 5. Her mother, she left a year ago. It's just us now. I work 2 jobs, this one and I drive for a courier service until 1 a.m. The weight was in his voice, not the words. He didn't ask for pity, but he painted a picture of a life stretched thin, a life of constant, grinding fear. This is the part that will take your breath away. Amelia reached into the small clutch she carried, pulling out her checkbook and a pen. She didn't write a check for $100 or even $500. She wrote a check with 4 digits. Then she pulled out a card, not her business card, but a personal one with her private cell number. She pushed both into his surprised hand. This is a loan, not a gift. Pay it back when you can, no interest, no rush. Use it for childcare, for a day off, for 6 months of not living in panic. And this, she pointed to her phone number, is my private line. I need a new personal assistant for my nonprofit foundation. Part-time, remote, flexible hours. Good pay, benefits. You'll be managing travel and appointments. You have the look of a man who takes responsibility seriously. The janitor's eyes filled with tears, not just from the money, but from the sudden, unbelievable validation. He looked at the check, then up at her, utterly speechless, the silence louder than any explosion she'd ever heard. Amelia's eyes softened, a deep, genuine warmth replacing the steel. Now go see Lily. Tell her the general sends her a high five. She gave him a slight, understanding nod. She didn't wait for a thanks or a refusal. She simply turned and walked back to her table, leaving the man, the father, staring at the small, revolutionary pieces of paper in his hand. Michael had watched the entire silent exchange with wide eyes. As she sat down, he didn't ask about the check or the job offer. He just looked at his powerful mother, her uniform a symbol of strength, her action a symbol of pure, simple humanity. He saw the battle she had really been fighting, the one to ensure that no parent ever felt that kind of cold, isolating despair she once knew. And in that moment, he realized that the general who commanded an army was truly defined by the silent wars she chose to win for others. The janitor, a man named Thomas, would go on to take that job, thriving under the new stability, and Lily would never forget the general, who brought her dad home a little earlier. That night, Amelia Vance wasn't just a general, she was a miracle, proving that the most profound acts of sacrifice are often the ones made in the quietest of corners. That is a story that should stay with you for a long time.